Well, here we go again. They're monkeying around with things that don't need to be monkeyed around with.
And overlooking the big picture.
Welcome to the Sonic Boomers. I'm Pete.
And I'm Maureen.
And on this edition of the show, we are calling out the United States Council of Catholic Bishops. Now, who are we to be doing this? Well, don't you know, we're big shots. Actually, no. Maureen and I are retired church musicians and singers of roughly 50 years experience. We have sung in everything from large formal choirs to praise bands to just the two of us conducting our own music ministry that we referred to as the Maureen and Pete Music Ministry. And we've now hung up the guitar and the microphone. But we do have opinions about some of the things that have been happening over the years with music in the Catholic Church. Now, in fairness, Maureen and I should also point out that we are former Roman Catholics. We left the Roman Catholic Church over doctrinal differences about 12 years ago, and we became part of a church called the American National Catholic Church, which is an independent church and has no connection to the Roman Catholic Church or to the Vatican whatsoever. The opinions expressed on our show today are strictly ours. They do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the American National Catholic Church.
We're looking at the documents and things that the Catholic bishops have come out with. Now, why? Why are they doing this all of a sudden? Well, a few years ago, they must have solved all the other problems in the church. That, you know, all the mergers and the closings and the
pedophile priests,
all that must have been solved because they didn't want to be dealing with that anymore.
Massive settlements that bankrupted dioceses.
They didn't want to have to deal with that anymore. So let's look at what we can mess with.
Yeah, let's not try to make the Mass more meaningful. Let's not try to make the homilies better, because I can count on the fingers of one hand the number of priests that I thought were good homilists, great homilists. The rest, I don't know what kind of training they get in the seminary on homiletics. I don't think it's very much. But on this, we're talking about the music.
Right. And also, as a point of clarification, the USCCB is the spokes group for the bishops of the United States, but it does not mean that these are unanimous decisions or a consensus. It's a consensus, but it is not. Every single bishop is not necessarily saying this.
It's not so say we all.
They decided that they were going to look at the contemporary music only in the church.
Shocking. I'm shocked already.
And they said, well, what do we have to say about this? Oh, look, all the documents that we are referring to they're too old, they're outdated. So they looked at Music in Catholic Worship, which came out shortly after the Vatican II was closed. It was 1972 this document came out. And then they waited about 10 years and they said, well, let's look at it again. And they came up with Liturgical Music Today. It was 1982. After a while, they said, well, you know what? I think that some of the music, it's leading to misuse of some of the music. Some of this contemporary stuff, it shouldn't be in the church.
Now, do you think they were acting on complaint from parishioners, or was just this a bee that they had in their bonnet?
I don't know. I think it's a bee in their bonnet because I think most of the parishioners liked the contemporary music at the time. You know, it's post-Vatican II. It was a very exciting time for music in the liturgy. So I don't think that they were getting too many complaints. So anyway, they felt that, some of this contemporary stuff didn't belong. So let's come up with another document. Yeah, great idea.
Because we love documents in the church.
So 2007, Sing to the Lord was the next document that came out. And that sat for a while. Meanwhile, while all these documents are being promulgated and they're studying and they're furrowing their brows and thinking, there's also some other things taking place in the music genre of the church. Most notably, we had composer David Haas, who was being accused of sexual misconduct.
Right. And it ruined his career.
It totally ruined his career. The publishers and stuff pulled all his stuff. His works were forbidden in all the churches. And
well, in many of the churches.
I think just about all eventually, because once they took his works out of the missals and out of the hymnals and off the websites, and you couldn't buy his music anymore, I think it pretty much was done. We have a whole episode about that if you want more information. We have in Spain another problem. Cesario Gabarene, he was also accused of sexual misconduct. He's the one that wrote, Lord, when you came to the seashore, also known in Spanish as Pescador
Right,
de
how
Hombre.
many times have we sung that over the decades?
Zillions.
Lord, when you came to the seashore. And that's as far as I can go because I have to keep the lawyers happy.
So immediately, once again, OCP, they pulled all his stuff off of their websites, pulled them everywhere. But they acted a little too soon, and they found out that he was later exonerated.
Oops.
So, oops, my bad. They put it all back in again.
Quick, find the Scotch tape and put the pages back in the book.
So at that time, everything was a mess. They were worried about the misuse. They didn't like the contemporary songs. Now we've got scandals. So they turned a critical eye, the bishops, to music in the liturgy in general and said, we better look at this stuff because this is not right. So in 2020, here we go again. Guess what they did? Go ahead. Pull it out of your head. They came up with a document, another one. This one was called Catholic Hymnody at the Service of the Church. Well, this one was a little bit more kind of like instructional, I would say.
Okay.
What they were trying to do was say, rather than just blanketly saying, well, we don't like this one, we don't like that, let's figure out what a good song should have and what a song should have to be included in a liturgy.
It has to have a good beat and you can dance to it.
And that's not what they were looking for.
Right.
So what must a hymn have? They wanted it to conform to Catholic doctrine. It has to be using language consistent with scripture and liturgical tradition. And they want you to avoid imagery that could mislead the faithful about the Eucharist's nature. And they said that singing bad theology is worse than seeing it in print because you're singing it and you're putting voice to it. And that made it more impactful, and that's why they are so concerned with the music. The disapproval was not about musical style. We were just talking about, even though they didn't like, they were focusing on the contemporary genre, they maintained that they didn't have a problem with a little
guitar
bit
masses, praise
drums,
bands,
rock and roll type settings of the
right.
songs. They were looking about just strictly on theology and the accuracy of the theology.
Okay, now here I want to just jump in and add to this that Maureen holds a master's degree in liturgical studies from Drew University, so she is not talking off the top of her head.
Oh, thank you, hon. Thanks for the recognition.
Leave that to me.
All these things are coming out. They came out with the guidelines. Good thing, I think, personally. I mean, as a liturgist, I kind of could go along with that because I do think it's very important that what we sing is liturgically correct and not heretical. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, not everybody took it the right way. And in 2024, we have a bishop out in Jefferson City, Missouri.
Sean McKnight, right?
It's like W. Sean McKnight. Jefferson City, Missouri. He took it to heart, and he created a list of 12 songs that he absolutely was forbidding in his diocese.
Right. And we're going to put the list of those songs up on the screen for you to see.
And he was actually kind of seen as a lone wolf because when his list came out, he got negative press so bad. He was slammed in social media. He was slammed in a lot of articles about him. People were writing to their bishops. It didn't go well, let's put it that way. So he came out with this list in October, and it was due to be instituted in a few months.
And what year was this?
2024.
Okay.
Well, not even 2 months later, we have him going back and saying, well, maybe we acted too fast. He didn't come out and say, I goofed. Oh, no mea culpa here. What he came out with was saying, well, those 12 songs that I said don't sing. Well, let's put them aside for a minute.
Yeah.
Let's
sing it if you want.
Yeah. Know that I don't think they're particularly good songs, and I have problems with them. But let's put it aside for a minute, and let's create a synod, which is a conglomeration of clergy, lay people, and other ordained ministers to come together and discuss and pray for the Holy Spirit's guidance. And to date, I don't think there's been any forward movement in that regard. They're still studying it. They were looking at not only hymns, but also mass parts and all that kind of stuff.
If Maureen and I are still here 10 years from now, we'll have a show on it when they make up their mind.
Prior to him coming out with the absolutely forbidden, we should mention that the hymns that the bishops kind of gave the stink eye, rolled the side eye to, were just saying ones that they said didn't meet these guidelines that they set up. They weren't saying you
can't do them.
You can't do them. They weren't saying banned or anything like that.
We're not telling you that you can't do it, but we would prefer if you didn't.
That's probably the best way of putting it. So
say I should be clergy.
Well, we could ordain you. Some of the hymns that were on the radar, I think, are going to surprise you.
Okay. I'm 100% sure that everybody has sung this. All Are Welcome by Marty Haugen. And this is a song that is actually sort of a theme song of the American National Catholic Church. We are a church where all are welcome. We're a church that welcomes the LGBTQ community. We are the church that welcomes the divorced Catholic. It's like we don't ostracize people. And that is really in our DNA. Mm-hmm. And it's a song that we sing with great relish in our church. And here it is on the list.
On the list. And what was their problem with it, you would ask? And rightfully.
I was about to ask.
You were about to ask. So here, there's a couple of things that they didn't like. First of all, there's the line in it, a banquet hall on holy ground where peace and justice meet. And also they were saying, listing the water, wine, and wheat together. So they said that in the Catholic Church, we want the Eucharist to be the source and summit of all of our worship and our focus when we come together. And as such, it is a very sacred moment in when the Eucharist is done in the liturgy.
Agreed.
They're saying that when we say a banquet hall and when we say water, wine, and wheat, we are kind of presenting the Eucharist like just an ordinary meal, not a sacred meal. And that the water was not even part of the consecration.
Well, now, hold on. Hold on there, liturgy lady, because don't we have a little bit of water that gets poured into the chalice?
Afterwards. It's not poured in at the consecration. It's poured in, they do a little drop to represent the people. Usually when you say it's the bread and the wine.
Okay.
It's the wine and the wheat, if you want to say it that way. The water is usually not mentioned in that, so they didn't like bringing the water in.
Okay.
And also it kind of is confusing because Christ did turn water into wine
Right.
at the Feast of Cana.
Right. Water came from his side in the crucifixion
Right.
when they stabbed him with the spear.
It muddles the water a little bit on that. So that's kind of where their objection stemmed from, that it didn't make it sacred enough.
Now, didn't they have a problem with the line about "let us build a house"?
Yes, they did. And again, they said that it contradicts the Catechism, which says that the Eucharist makes the church. It's a source and summit. The Eucharist is it. And we don't create the church. The human actions cannot create the church. The church was called together by the Holy Spirit through Christ. And therefore, to say build a house kind of downplays the mystery of what actually takes place. And they said that it turns it into like a human building project instead of it being, something more sacred.
I'm going to have to disagree with that too.
So they just said that these things could easily be misconstrued and therefore lead Catholics astray and make the glorification of God and the sanctity of the faithful at risk.
Now, here's another one that they put on their hit list. "Sing a New Church" by Dolores Duffner. Again, I can't tell you how many times we've sung that over the years.
Right. Now, this one, it goes back a ways to our experience in the Roman Catholic Church when we were members in the Archdiocese of Newark, and Archbishop Myers at that time forbade the song to be sung, at least at any Mass that he attended.
Right. We were told that by our music director. We
Right.
cannot do that song in his presence.
In his presence. Because, why? Because he said, we don't need a new church. Our church is just fine. So no need to be singing a new church into being. And some people thought that the lyrics actually kind of suggested a schism. They were worried that it suggested that we need a new church and we should split off from the Roman Catholic Church because we need to build a new church, and they didn't like that. Dolores Duffner, but she was approached by church people and asked for clarification. And she was highly upset and offended because she said that was not her intent at all. She was not advocating starting a new religion or branching off from the Catholic Church. She wanted renewal and growth within the church, not to replace it, which is the spirit that I think most of us took it in. But they were too worried about it being an invitation to depart from the existing church. And it became more or less like a misunderstanding, not really a doctrinal issue. So another one is "God Has Chosen Me," Bernadette Farrell.
God has chosen me. God has chosen me.
Mm-hmm. And to me, the bigger objection I would have had with that song, and to believe me, I am not negating Bernadette Farrell's talents at all. She's written a lot of wonderful music. I cannot write a song. I've never written one. I cannot do it. So kudos to her on having this successful music career. But I do think that particular song is a little bit kindergartenish, a little bit sing-songy. And on that basis, I would have said, I could just as soon do without it.
It is a little kindergartenish. It is a little sing-songy, agreed. But it is an easy song for congregational singing.
That is true. That is quite true.
It gets them singing in the seats.
So that is kind of like what kind of pushes it over to the plus side. And of course, with any of these songs and any song in liturgy, you want the people to sing. It's their prayer too. And it's their participation that makes the whole Eucharist and liturgy come together. So of course, if you have a song that they're singing well and they're singing with enthusiasm.
You have fuller, more active participation.
And that's a good thing. They seem to have a problem with the idea that anybody would say that there's something wrong with the church. So they're saying, the lyrics, build a new kingdom on earth, implies that the humans are building a utopia rather than working on the kingdom of God. And they didn't like the word chosen, because they say chosen people are like election. It's like politics. And this is not what it is.
But wouldn't a priest say that they were chosen? I know they use the word called.
Called.
But to me, chosen, called, tomato.
Well, I'm just telling you, this is what came, because the word chosen is used in the song.
Right.
Chosen is the word that they're having the problem with.
I just find it amusing that they're having a problem with that.
Well, and they also try to justify it and back it up by saying, well, in the Bible it says, many are called and few are chosen. So we should not be saying God has chosen me and presuming that we're part of the chosen, that we have anything to do with our salvation. Creating the church by our actions is anathema. That's not what it should be. That's wrong. And it goes against our understanding of God's grace and his role in establishing his community of believers.
It goes against their understanding.
Well, okay.
The corporate understanding.
Okay. Here's one that might really surprise you.
This is going to upset some people.
Table of Plenty by Dan Schutte. Now, Dan Schutte, he's like the golden boy. I mean,
he is the 500-pound gorilla. Are you kidding me?
He's like a former Jesuit.
Yeah.
He's written countless of beautiful songs. Just so prolific, so successful.
We know Dan, and I can't say a negative thing about him. We've had the pleasure of meeting him on a few different occasions. He was the speaker of a recent convocation in the American National Catholic Church, and he was wonderful.
So it kind of upsets me that, first of all, they would pick on Dan Schutte, and secondly, this particular song.
Come to the feast of heaven and earth. I'm just singing these so that people know what we're talking about.
I gotcha. So what's the problem again? It downplays the Eucharistic sacrifice, they say. And it overplays the Eucharist as being a communal and social meal, and not, again, the mystical, spiritual, sanctified meal that we are celebrating when we get together and celebrate the Eucharist.
And my favorite Dan Schutte song, Beyond the Moon and Stars.
Beyond the Moon and Stars, right.
Love that song, and I am so happy that I had a moment to speak to Dan during the convocation and thank him personally for creating that song.
Yeah, and I think he really was touched by that too, because it's not a song that everybody knows. So when you picked that one, it shows that you were a true follower of his music. It wasn't like you picked the Here I Am, Lord, that everybody would say.
Yeah,
so I think that meant a lot.
Love that song.
So again, they're citing imprecise language. They said that it sounds in some ways like the water and wine are remaining as water and wine and not being changed into the body and blood of Christ. And between the kind of folksy sound of the music and the words, they said it sounds more like you're getting together for a community picnic than for a sanctified meal.
People in churches that you and I have been affiliated with over the years have heard me say this during Mass when we are introducing songs. Mm-hmm. Nobody ever told you that church can't be enjoyable. Nobody ever told you that church can't be fun. And again, if you've got a song like Table of Plenty that people really want to sing with gusto, almost like, I hate to use the analogy, but it's almost like a beer drinking song, And I'm okay with that. If people are having a good time singing it, they're having a good time in the Mass. They're not sitting there in sackcloth and ashes. And what's wrong with that?
I don't see anything wrong with it, that's for sure. But this is, again, what they're still trying to pick apart lyrics is basically all that they're going for, is the lyrics, and not you're in the big picture.
Yeah.
The last song we're going to talk about is the song Ashes by Tim Conry.
Right. We rise again from ashes, from the good we failed to do.
That's the one. This is a song that was like perfect for Lent. It is like the perfect song for Ash Wednesday. Mm-hmm. I would venture to say it's probably in every church at some point during Lent, and especially Ash Wednesday. The main thing that they didn't like about it was that they call ashes an offering, which the doctrinal committee viewed as misleading or inaccurate. We're not offering the ashes, we're offering ourselves, we're offering our sufferings, or we're offering our failures. The ashes just mark us as believers on Ash Wednesday,
and
remind us of our ultimate destiny, that we will
return to ashes,
and we are going back to ashes. And it reminds us of penance, and it has really nothing to do with an offering. So that's kind of why they don't like this song, because it's portraying the ashes as an offering.
You guys, USCCB, you're worried about stuff that the people, the people that put the money in the collection basket, the people who come to your churches, without whom you would have an empty building, they're not complaining about this stuff. They're not worried about that. You guys are. Honestly, you have something better to do, and you need to do it. And it's not about the music. Just saying. For heaven's sake, comment below. And we invite you to join us next Thursday morning for another edition of the Sonic Boomers podcast. Remember that we are available on YouTube, where you can actually see our pretty faces on camera. And that goes up every Thursday morning at 9 a.m. And also at the very same time, almost as if by magic, at 9 a.m., the audio version of this podcast launches on basically any place where you can listen to a podcast, including iHeart, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and many, many others.
We want you to listen. We want you to subscribe, please.
Please like and subscribe, because we're on a roll. And remember, when you like and subscribe, that helps our channel. And remember to click the notification bell. We'd love you for doing that, because that means that as soon as a new show gets posted, you get an instant notification. So until next time, for the Sonic Boomers channel, I'm Pete.
And I'm Maureen.
Goodbye. God bless you. And thank you for watching. And thank you for listening.